You're recording and transmitting and everything?
We are recording.
Great.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Ben.
Morning.
Hey,
Welcome.
Ben.
Hey.
And
Hi, Ben.
Christina and Doug.
Hi.
Hi. And we have a guest, Tom Connolly, and I can't see the other name.
Jonathan Reeves.
Hello.
Hi there.
Good morning.
Good morning. Sorry, I can't read your name. It's very tiny screen.
Sorry I'm not there with you in person. I'm just a little at the tail end of being sick. So I figured I'd save you.
Thank you.
Okay. Did everybody get a chance to look at the revised minutes?
They're fine.
Yeah.
Motion to approve.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, and it's done. Okay, originally Beth was lined up to come in at 9 soon to us. But we'll just skip ahead. Who wants to talk, either Charity or Sarah? Do you want to just talk a little bit about the compost symposium?
Oh, well, we had a food scrap forum, and it was wonderful. There were representatives from Riverhead, East Hampton, Shelter Island, and we talked about what each municipality is doing, and it got lots of great ideas. I think I don't know about you all, I was extremely impressed with the municipal pickup, a drop-off program that Jason has put together in Riverhead. Yeah, the Riverhead program is really, really impressive. And I think it's impressive what they've set up. It's also, I think it's interesting. It would be an interesting thing for us to discuss in terms of applying some of what he's done here. And I think that one of the takeaways for me was that you had a situation where a person in a position to do things took the lead. So Jason really, he really drove that. Now he had support, but he was inside, willing to do it, willing to put it together. And to me, it seems like he drove it. So that, I don't know how that applies to what we would do, but I thought it was very interesting. And I also was really impressed by the community activism that Tony Romano has put together in Hampton Bays. He was another speaker. So yeah, it was great, and I guess we'll do it again next year. Probably, yeah.
Yep.
So I think what we should do in terms of action is sort of discuss, analyze what we heard, and see what we can apply here.
Yeah, and I took notes that I thought would be particularly relevant to the team at Sylvester Manor that's doing this, and I'm going to meet with them this afternoon. There were interesting things about compostable bags and, a variety of aspects that Spanish language materials, the Dunkster,
Yes.
So I want to bring them up to speed. And I also made a note of some organizations, both Rethink Food Waste New York and Rewild Long Island are very involved in this across the island. And, like Charity said, if there's a point where it should scale up from just diverting voluntarily at Sylvester Manor to something from the municipal, at the site, I think it will take that kind of commitment of staff time within the Department of Public Works to make something develop, because clearly Jason has dedicated a lot of time to this. And the town has dedicated, resources. I was excited about the bins behind the bins, because I know the bins at the parking lot at Sylvester Manor do fill up. So anyway, I'll be meeting with Ariel and also our winter crew, Jess and Jake, who are all involved in that program over at the Manor.
Also, by the way, Tino and
Gloria?
Gloria want to meet. Do you want to meet with them too?
Sure.
Okay, so one, because it seems to make sense to me.
Yeah, I spoke with Tino after the forum and we should do, we should think a little bit about the purpose and the agenda for that. So, but yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good.
A composting related question before we get off that topic.
Okay, let me just add one quick thing about Charity is also written, oh, there's Beth. Hi, Beth. Was concerned you were having trouble getting on.
Yeah, sorry to be.
That's okay. Sometimes people get locked out. So I'm concerned that you were locked out. Charity wrote an article about it for the Reporter this week. So,
Yes, I saw somebody wrote a letter to the editor suggesting that I was trying to discourage backyard composting.
Oh, geez.
I don't remember what I said that discouraged backyard. I'll have to go back and look at it. But anyway, I was not trying to discourage backyard composting. Sorry about that.
okay,
Oh, well, and the other point about the Manor is that this was the first sort of public announcement that anybody in town can bring their scraps.
Yes.
And I'm also working back at the Manor with, with the media team to get some announcements out by social media about that.
you want to do something with the town on their Facebook and Instagram and everything else they do?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah, let's
I'll
do
bring
that.
that up with,
Okay,
okay.
Steve, you had a question?
That really nice electric composting.
Food cycler. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I'm very interested and I have some friends who are very interested. And, do we have a contact that I can go to, make a purchase or encourage others to make a purchase? I tested it at my house and you did as well, and I was more than impressed.
So I think I should try to test it too, maybe,
You really
even
should.
though I'm doing the,
No, you should.
yeah. Okay, but I'm having so much fun with the banana peels.
And you wouldn't want to be accused of discouraging backyard
No, I would.
composting.
Absolutely.
And let me just go on record and say that, because it's electric, but, I'm not in favor of electricity.
Yeah.
Well, we'll figure out with Mary how to get more of those here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Mary Morgan.
Mary Morgan.
Yeah.
And Beth was also at the symposium. So Beth, why don't you introduce yourself and just tell us what you're doing and take it away.
Oh, okay, sure. So I have a few different hats that I wear. I don't know if Tim told you guys, but thank you so much. Oh my goodness, I see myself on the screen. It's too early for that. Oh.
You look fine.
But thank you so much for inviting me to speak with you all. Yeah, so the symposium was really great. I serve on the steering committee of the Long Island Organics Council. So, we basically just, exist to help people further composting efforts. So whatever we can do to help the town in any way, we're happy to do that. I also am the director of Green Inside and Out, which is a small nonprofit based in Huntington, Up Island. And in that case, we work mostly on toxins and waste. So I'll get to that in a minute. But with composting, we had received a grant from the New York State Pollution Prevention Institute of $20,000 to help a municipality establish a municipal food scrap drop-off site. So I had first actually approached the town of Huntington where I live, and they said, oh, we don't want to dedicate staff time to it. So then, Mark Haubner was there, chomping at the bit saying, Riverhead will take it, Riverhead will take it. So that's how we ended up working with them. And it's turned out wonderful. As you saw there, I think some of you at least were at that forum in Shelter Island with Jason Blizzard. They're so lucky they have such an, young, enthusiastic staff person to pitch in as he does. So that's been a real success. You know, we were able to buy the signage and the bins. And that's great. But I mean, in terms of the Long Island Organics Council, we definitely would love to help, even with backyard composting, any kind of composting project. You know, Mary Morgan's project she partnered with us on that to help get the word out about those food cyclers. So I think she said she sold 36 of them or 46. I forget the exact number, but so that's been really great. It is a great machine. She loves it. But yeah, we can put you in touch with her. We have a link on our website. I can put it in the chat. So yeah, I mean, we get calls from people wanting to do community composting. So whatever we can do, we're just small too and mostly volunteer, but we'll help. And I'm always trying to look for more grants. I did actually apply to the Long Island Community Foundation for a grant in August, and we didn't get it. And I was so disappointed because they had expressed interest in this. But there is, you know, other funding out there, so we'll have to just keep on it if it's something you'd like to pursue. That's with composting. Any thoughts or comments on that one?
Betty?
The grant that was involved with Riverhead, that was for materials like the bins and that sort of thing. But what they had to provide was a dedicated staff person to run the program.
Yeah, basically. I mean, that wasn't part of our grant, but that's essentially what happened. You know, the grant was mostly for our time that we spent, you know, with so much planning and designing the flyers and designing the signage and all that stuff. And now we have that template in place so we can easily, it's like a cookie cutter. We can just, you know, replicate it and tweak it as needed. And is that Sarah there? Oh, okay. Hi.
Yeah.
Well, she's already doing amazing work there at Sylvester Manor, so you guys are lucky. But yeah, I mean, it was to purchase the materials needed and our time, but you do need a staff person that's kind of able to shepherd things along.
Beth, because right now it's the nonprofit with some support from the town, identifying which funding organizations grant to nonprofits as opposed or in addition to municipalities would be helpful.
Okay, yeah. So we'll start looking into that if it's something you'd like to pursue. You know, and I know there's CET, the Center for Ecotechnology, but they mostly deal with businesses, like reaching out to restaurants and helping them to compost, for example. But we're working together with them and they're a great resource in terms of information. So we're always keeping our eyes peeled. There's
Well,
USDA
that's-
grants and EPA
yeah,
grants, you know.
The restaurant piece is, you know, that's a desire to start bringing in restaurant food waste, but there are costs associated with that Sylvester Manor can't cover. And I don't know if the town, you know, grant funding could go to that. So that would be useful also if we can go into a restaurant and say, and we can get funding for the collection bins that you're going to need in the kitchen and outdoors. That would be great to know also.
Okay, yeah, I'll talk to Center for Ecotechnology and see. And they're always happy to set up meetings also. They have a very enthusiastic young woman who lives, I think, in Westchester, but she covers this whole region for them, named Lisa Pellegrino. So we can always set up a meeting too. Yeah, she's great.
That's
So
the Center for.
Center for Ecotechnology, CET.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Yeah, and they have a great campaign too. It's called like I'm forgetting. It's something like, you know, Compost New York or whatever, Compost Right New York. So they're definitely dedicated. So yeah, we'll try and bring as many resources as we can. Just let me know what you're interested in. Tim, you can always email me what everyone's thoughts are.
If after I meet with the team at the Manor today, you might hear from our farm manager, Sylvester Manor's farm manager, Ariel Gardner.
Okay, that would be great.
I'll
Yeah, I mean
add her to the loop.
Okay, Ariel Gardner. Okay. Yeah, I mean the main cost what we found has been the transportation. You know, if you can get a truck to move the scraps from one place to another, if needed, that seems to be the issue. So we need to investigate that some more.
I wonder if that's a role that the town could help with, highway department. Transiting waste.
Mhm.
Yeah, because all that stuff that Jason was doing in Riverhead, I think he was doing kind of off the radar. Like he had the
Right.
town truck and he was like, oh, I'm just driving from home to the office, but I'll just go pick up over there in the way, you know.
Right. But he
So-
was also able to work inside for the schools. It was very interesting, that part about connecting with the schools and the high schools and discovering a transportation that existed between the schools that could be used for moving food waste. That was
Yeah,
really interesting, and it's possible, there's something like that here that we don't know about,
yes, absolutely. That was great. You know, we had all had a meeting, Mark Haubner and Takwi Turchin from the Civic, and we sat down, and Jason, and sat down with Riley Avenue School, which I think is their grammar school, and they were all excited about composting their food scraps from the kitchen, which they said weren't too much because they try to order so as not to create waste, which is good. But then the guy in charge of the kitchen, his name is Keith something. He said, "Oh yeah, well we can get the food scraps from the high school too. I mean, I'll just bring it into one place for you, and Jason would only have to pick up at that one place." So that was great. That was the school's
Yeah.
idea. So yeah, so that's composting. And then I don't want to take too much of your time, but just quickly letting you know that I'm also part of a group called Taking a Lead on Zero Waste, which has been run by Mark Haubner again. He's amazing. And Karen Bloomer, she's a longtime naturalist on Long Island. She wrote a book about Long Island native plants back in the 90s.
Yes,
Yeah, she's
I
amazing.
still have it.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So we've been running these meetings basically every other week with representatives from most of the townships, including, I think, Tim, you participated in one or two of them at least so far.
Not yet.
Oh, not yet. Oh, I
Yeah.
thought I saw you in one of them at least. But what we're doing is we're working with Winters Brothers and the Long Island Regional Planning Council and others, more or less to start the conversation about how to achieve zero waste on Long Island. So we've been covering different topics. We've covered like how to achieve zero waste with glass, because right now it's not being recycled. It's being, well, sort of. What's happening is that they're crushing it and using it as a cover on the landfill, which is not ideal because it could be turned into new products. So we're trying to facilitate that conversation of how do we bring in companies that could use the glass for something, like upcycling it, like into concrete. We've covered ash, textiles, how to recycle textiles, and also organics was one of the topics, the compost. So we're coming up with policy recommendations and hopefully on each of these topics and hopefully putting together a plan. And in a few weeks, we're supposed to be meeting with County Executive Ed Romaine to see what his ideas are and how we can work together, if we can work together, we hope. He's a character, so we'll see. Last time we met with him, he talked the entire hour. We had to sit with him. We were just mute. So we have to try and get a word in edgewise, but if we can. There is EPA funding, and I'm going to bring that to the attention of the county. They may want to take a lead role on getting some really big funding. Like EPA is offering, I think, $500,000 grants up to 2 million, sizable. And we're working also with the DEC. They're part of that Taking a Lead on Zero Waste group. So it's worth your time to participate in it when you have time. We'll keep you on the list, Tim, and whenever you
No,
it's great.
I will definitely do that.
Beth, I'd love to learn more about that group
Okay,
personally.
sure.
Beth, I remember last year at the compost symposium or forum, there was a discussion, or maybe there was something in the works, for an up island facility that would be handling, like a large scale facility. Is that
Mhm.
something that's still in the works, or is that something that I misunderstood?
Yes, so there are two actually. So the Vigliottis with Long Island Compost, for several years now, they've been trying to get up and running an anaerobic digester. And I know they had permits from LIPA, but I think there was some issue with the amount of funding they needed. There was something to do with, I heard through the grapevine, you need like a water treatment system in addition to the AD itself. And so they were having issues with the fundraising or something, or the permits. I'm not quite sure. So it's still not up and running, but it's supposed to be soon. Then there's another company, it's Mark Lembo and Michael Gianchetta, that are trying to open another anaerobic digester, which, I think is in general, okay, it's one way to deal with food waste. I guess it's better than it just going in an incinerator, because the anaerobic digesters create energy from the methane. But there's just a concern about the PFAS contamination. Like if it creates fertilizer with the digestate, there has to be some rules made about spreading it on land, because there's been issues, in other parts of the nation with that. And also, Mark and I have discussed this. We're not quite sure how they're calculating the size of their machinery, their equipment. Like there's not even really a lot of public data out there to, they're saying, oh, we can take, 200 tons a day or whatever. It's like, okay, well, where are they getting that number? Because um, are, are they going to start pulling food scraps from New York City, and all these kind of questions? So I think those are the issues that I have in my mind about it, but I think it's generally a good thing.
I don't know if you've been following this, but my understanding is that the anaerobic digesters in the city have had some serious issues. They keep shutting down, and I don't know if there's an issue with the technology, or, if it's specific to that site. Do you know?
I don't know, but I've heard that too, that they had issues in the city, but I don't know much more about it. No, so I'm hoping that these companies are paying attention to that. Mark Lembo and Michael Gianchetta, they're still in the process of getting their permits. I think they're looking at the like EPCAL area over there by Riverhead. And I know Mark doesn't want it, so it's controversial. So we'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see.
I guess the reason I'm asking, I brought this up last year, is how does that sort of relate to all the efforts that everybody in the East End are trying to do on a sort of local or combined level?
Yeah, that's, Mark's objection, because it's kind of like there's the hierarchy of what we can do with our food scraps, and the highest use, best highest use would be to compost and turn it into, something we can use on our soils here on Long Island. I know he's been talking about creating the Peconic biomix, so farmers can buy local compost, and it could be a good, business for some entrepreneurs or even the towns. So we'll see. I think if we, through the Taking a Lead on Zero Waste group, need to have that conversation with these companies. And Vigliotti's have been really hard to reach. So we'll see. We have to have that talk with them. Yeah. So that's that topic. And I'll just close with one other topic. I wear so many different hats. I don't know which one I'm wearing half the time. Um, but another job that I have to help pay the bills is I work with Drive Electric Long Island, and they are part of the U.S. Green Building Council Long Island chapter. And through that, we do education and outreach on electric vehicles. Like yesterday, we actually just had a press conference, and you might have seen it on News 12 if you watch News 12. Long Island has reached 50,000 electric vehicles, which is pretty cool.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, it's good for our air quality locally, of course. So, yeah, so the whole state is at close to 200,000. So Long Island is about a quarter of the whole state's, registrations of electric vehicles, which is interesting. And in fact, Shelter Island won an award, so I'll have to send you guys the certificate because you have, I think, the first or second, I forget how you ranked, but you're up there in terms of the share of EVs compared to the total number of cars on the island. So, if you
Really?
have 100 cars on the island, you have a large percentage of those being EVs.
It's because everybody and their uncle owns a Tesla.
Oh,
That would
yeah,
be, that would be
Teslas are very
great.
popular.
And any information you can share about Shelter Island would be great.
Yes, we'll send you the certificate.
That's great.
Yeah, we'll send it to you in the mail. It was really great. So we had a nice, press conference, and I can send you the link with the photos if you'd like to see it. They did an EV parade down the highway. It was really fun. It
Wow.
was great. But for that, we do EV 101 presentations. So basically it's a 45-minute or so, half-hour presentation about electric vehicles, answering people's questions because there's a lot of misinformation that's out there and people panicking about charging and so forth. So we go into all of that, the history of EVs. They've been around for 100 years actually, and how they've developed, and then environmental considerations, since they are pulling energy from the grid, and we explain it's still actually cleaner in the long run over the life cycle of the vehicle, and so forth, all about the charging. And then we usually bring some EV volunteers. There are some folks that drive electric vehicles and they show their car afterwards, and people can, chit chat with them and look at the car and see how you plug it in and all that. So
That's
if you're
great.
interested in doing something like that, we'd be happy to do it. And we could do it by Zoom too, even, in that case, we don't show the cars, obviously, but
So we had talked, because you had talked to Christina at the town about bringing some EVs out here. And so we talked about maybe the ideal time would be at our Green Expo in August.
Right.
oh, okay. Yeah, we can do that. We do electric vehicle showcases as well. So we try to invite dealerships to attend sometimes, but for sure we can bring some EV volunteers with their vehicles. So
You know,
we have Bolts, Teslas. I have a BMW i3.
Yeah.
We have.
Good question. Sorry, it's Benjamin Dunn. I can't turn my camera on because
I
Coco
recognize you.
shut me out. But there we go. What I mean, I'm new here, obviously, and I'm really happy to be on this committee. What has the conversation been around, having a DC fast charger on the island, or has there been a conversation about it?
Oh, yes, definitely. I think they just said it yesterday. There's about 200 DC fast chargers on Long Island, and closer to, I think, 700 public level 2, which is the ones they take a little longer, but that's typically what you might see at a shopping mall or whatever. But yeah, there's quite a few DC fast chargers. And the fact is that 82% of Long Islanders live in single family homes. So like I'm able to charge at home. So it's very convenient. There's no more stopping at the gas station. The main issue is getting some more of the fast chargers up on the highways, like off Long Island. So we're working on it. The state's working on it, and so is PSEG.
I mean, for Shelter Island, it would be more of an amenity for the summer activities here.
Yeah.
I mean, I drive an EV. I have a charger at home, so
Oh,
I
cool.
would not necessarily be a customer, but I have a level 2 charger in my garage.
Yeah.
But for people who are visiting the island in the summer, it might be a nice amenity to have, but have to weigh that
Yeah.
against the level of use in the winter, which will probably be close to zero.
Mm. So PSEG Long Island offers incentives for the make ready, they call it, portions of the chargers. It's basically like the infrastructure, the wiring and making sure that the power is strong enough underneath the charger itself. So they offer incentives for that. I forget the exact amount, but I can get you the information if you'd like. Because that is something to look into. That's true for summer traffic.
Especially near hotels, I mean, to have a level 2 charger, located in between, Sunset Beach and the Prydwen, or, in an area where out-of-town visitors can, because one of the problems with staying in a hotel if you have an EV is that, there's not always a place to charge it. That might encourage visitors to, in other words, I get what you're saying about 82% of Long Islanders charge at home, but we have a lot of summer visitors and we would
True.
like them to also charge or bring their
And charge
EVs, I guess
quickly.
is what we want them to do.
And charge.
Many hotels do have level 2 chargers. So that's, and now,
It's possible,
there's-
I don't know, do you know
Sunset
if
Beach.
Sunset Beach has a
I
charger?
think-
Yes, they do.
They
Yeah,
do?
they have
Okay,
about-
I didn't
they
know
have
that.
about 6, I think.
6, okay, and they're level 2 chargers?
And level 2 chargers, and
Okay.
Potomac has 4.
Yes, and then the police station has,
Those are the first ones we got. Those are-
But a level
Those are slow.
level 3 charger would be next level, and that would be,
yeah,
really
level 3 is like the DC fast charger.
yeah.
Yeah, so we
so
actually.
maybe it's the
want to get-
Heights, there are hotels in the Heights, maybe that's a better target if we,
Yeah, we looked into that.
yeah,
Yeah, it's hard to find a location.
I believe
Sure.
there's NYSERDA funding for workplace charging and commercial charging. Yep, and we
Mhm.
fought to get a residential rebate as well. So we have $200 back on the table for residential chargers, which is great.
Ooh.
It had gone away for a while.
But maybe
I-
the town can incorporate it on town land in some
Mhm.
other project to put in a couple level 3 chargers. And
Maybe
it's-
we could, maybe we could get the fellow who has the land next to Fetty's or, whatever the liquor store is called, to
Dan
put in-
Dan Calabra?
Yeah, put in a series of fast chargers, be a good citizen. I mean, because
They're
the
expensive,
states
but-
there, it's very central. I just want to add that our experience, our son had an EV, which he turned out, he wound up selling it about 5 months after he had it because he found that he couldn't do any long distance traveling. It was very, very slow because he basically had 80% of the battery that he could charge. So every 140 miles or something, he'd have to, or probably 180 miles, he'd have to stop and recharge it. Anyway, we have a level 2 charger that we had installed, but before we had that put in, he came up and was trying to charge his vehicle. The charger at Sunset Beach was only for Teslas, and we didn't have an adapter. And we couldn't get the one at the police station to work. And so he had to go off island to Greenport and charge his car, but at least he was able to do it there. But it is an issue. And I mean, if you don't have one in your garage that's reliable, it can be really difficult. So I think there's a great need for more chargers, especially with visitors coming on. And there are just going to be more and more and more electric vehicles in the market. So.
Most of them have ranges of 250 to 300 miles at this point. But yeah, mine is old and it only gets 200 something. So I would
Yeah,
appreciate it.
His was new. He had a new GM, but he was really surprised at the limited range that he was experiencing.
Well, Beth, if you ever find yourself stranded on Shelter Island, you could charge at my garage.
Oh, cool. Thank you. I'll come find you.
Couple of things on this issue,
Go ahead.
if I may. Okay, a couple of things on this issue. I just wanted to add, I'm a big proponent of electric vehicles and in particular hybrid vehicles. I think this country could have done a lot better over the last 20 years if we had gotten behind hybrid. But I'm a supporter of electric vehicles as well. Would only add two things. One is on the macro level, we talked about 50,000 vehicles on Long Island, and that's great. But just to put things in perspective, I'm saying this because I come out of the electric power industry. To put things in perspective, this country sells about 18 million new cars every year. Last year, we sold about 800 to 900,000 new electric vehicles. So getting to half new vehicles every year electric is still a long way to go, and it will have enormous implications for the grid, which is being, I don't know the extent to which it's being addressed, but it will need to be addressed, just like
Yeah.
adding solar, okay? But
PSEG is
charging,
definitely planning for this.
yeah,
I
yeah.
worked for the Department of Public Service for 6 years. They're definitely planning.
Okay, yes, I'm very much aware of that and glad to hear it, but it's an enormous job. And then even on the micro level here at Shelter Island, we talk about adding, chargers basically for the summertime. We need to be cognizant, and, that's one of the other hats we wear here on the Green Options Committee about the implications for the electric grid, even on the island, and of course, on the East End. All of that would be added to a summer peak, which is already distended, to use the mild
Substations have to
term.
be ready, for sure.
Yeah, and the implications of that for, not just for, decarbonization, but for reliability and resiliency need to be weighed very carefully and very seriously as we go forward. We do not want to have a ready, fire, aim
Mhm.
result. Okay, so I just feel it needs to be said. And again, I'm very much in favor of electric vehicles and backyard composting and front yard composting as well. But we need to move forward with this, very deliberately, because building out, evolving the electric grid in a safe and reliable way, I didn't even include the word, financially responsible, because, building out the peaks, and many of building out the peaks has enormous financial implications for the entire year's use, okay? And, if we're only running at a small amount of the summer peak, it has enormous financial implications, because all of us need to pay for that grid even when it's not being used. And though that raises the issue of financial equity, okay?
Yes, and actually PSEG is offering a time of use rate to encourage people to charge off peak for exactly that reason.
Okay, and
I-
these are the kinds of, there are not only good technology solutions, but there are also good, business model solutions. Time of use rates are great. When I started in the business, 40, 50 years ago, time of use rates were very popular. And yes, there's a lot we can do and should be doing. But I'm just saying it's a multidimensional issue, and electric power reliability and safety cannot be compromised as we move forward, because, as we know, everything hangs on the electric grid. So that's all I'm going to say.
Can I-
We're working on that.
Yeah, Steve, I just want to add, I think this is a great reason why, the work that Don's done to look at solar possibilities on, in various parts of the island. And I won't go into details here, but is really important in this because it can reduce that demand or the load rather, and sort of flatten the peak a little bit. In the same way that if we could do geothermal on the island for heating and cooling buildings, it would also reduce the need for so much electrification. I'm not sure we can do that given the concerns around water. We have to look into that. But anyway, yeah, sort of, we need multiple solutions to address the demand for greater electricity for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
agreed.
Anybody else have
That's all I had.
any questions for Beth? Okay.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy to help any way I
Thank you.
can.
We will be in touch.
Okay, wonderful. And I'm sorry I have to drop off for another
Yeah,
call.
yeah. No, I know.
You'll be back.
Have to
You'll be
go.
back, I'm sure.
All right. Thanks, Beth.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to see you
Beth.
all.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good
Thanks so
meeting.
much.
Okay. I just have two quick things before we go into ETIP. One is, actually one's Bill Falk. So I'm going to reach out to him. Apparently he's not responding to, Brian and others have,
Oh, they have tried to?
yeah, they tried to reach him and he hasn't responded.
Okay, I'll try.
You want to try?
Yep,
Okay. And if when,
I'll ping him.
and if you want to include me at some point, because
I'll do that.
I'm trying to find data for Don, but also we need to get data for like just the bills and stuff like that.
Yeah, I didn't realize that they had been in correspondence with him and just no response at all.
No, Brian.
Do you have something you could forward to me that I could see, that I can reference to Bill?
I mean, I think they have a bunch of questions that they.
No, I mean like a correspondence where they wrote to him and didn't hear back.
Brian I can ask, Brian just mentioned that they.
Okay, well, let me check with Brian and then I'll follow
Why
up.
don't you check with Brian?
I'll check with Brian and follow up with Bill.
Or since Kate is going away, check with Jamie too.
Okay,
Okay.
yep.
Okay, let's go into,
That may need to be an ongoing dialogue with.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they
Bill,
said they would
yeah.
like to have him at the meeting.
yes, no, we're gonna need them.
He's going to be part of the team almost.
Yes, well, and certainly for data.
Or whoever.
I mean, years ago, when Don and I put together a whole thing to swap out the incandescent light bulbs for LED here, I did have a contact in PSEG who very quickly sent me all the bills for the town. And unfortunately, I don't have her name, and she may not even be there. So, I'm looking for that information.
It'll be an ongoing process.
So we have 15 or so minutes. Why don't we just talk about yesterday's meeting with ETIP? And then we have a guest today. I just want to leave room to ask them if they have any questions. One thing I was wondering, when we were talking about going ahead with the scoping process, we talked about Sylvester Manor yesterday. And then the previous meeting, Don presented his solar plan. And I just wonder, as we move forward, should we be adding more possible places for solar? Or is that something we should be looking at as they put together, sort of try to come up with a plan or continue the scoping?
Do we have a working list of places that they are looking? I mean, I know the school is interested, a lot of flat roofs over there.
Yeah, that's what I would like to ask them that question. Based on their visit, are they looking at other places or considering other places aside from the two that we presented to them? Do you have any thoughts?
Sorry, just unmuting here.
Yep.
If you don't have it in there now, I'll make sure at the next meeting And we'll get it into the.
Yeah, because that's important.
Did you hear me? What, my question?
Yes, somebody else talking, or is that outside the room? I didn't want to
Outside the room.
interrupt.
Yeah, it's outside.
Okay. I would like to put together a plan for the entire island. I think the school rooftop had limited possibilities based on what we saw when we were there. Certainly it can be expanded over what it now has. But I'd like to coordinate with Sarah and scope out what's possible there, Sarah, if I may. I did read your plan, the comprehensive plan, but I'm not sure it got to the level of detail that I'd like to see.
No, it was just an analysis of where the resources are, nothing about planning implementation.
Right. Can we undertake that?
Sure.
Or do we have to, you still have consultants that you're working with?
Not for that at the moment, but why don't we plan a meeting, up at the manor, and I'll show you where we're at with seeking proposals for some roof arrays at the farm.
Okay.
And do a walk, and that would be great.
Good. I can bring along a measuring tape, actually figure out what can be done. We'll look at those colored areas on your charts.
Great.
We also have a lot of, small commercial roofs that at some point we might want to scope out, see how much of that is available, and get some idea, I don't know if we do, of how many PV systems there are already on the island. PSE&G should have that information really at their fingertips because they have to permit those systems. So they should know what's there, and perhaps even, I would expect, the rating on those systems. And from that, we can probably project what might be available on the island, and come up with a goal or a plan. We can discuss that, Dawn, if you like. And that would be, and we could discuss that obviously with the NREL people to come up with a goal, an attainable goal for our island, and then find out how we're gonna achieve it.
Sure. Sarah, again, I've been looking at agrovoltaics too. There's some very interesting vertical panels. Probably you've seen those. So it allows you to easily take care of the crops with any equipment in between the vertical panels.
Yeah, the vertical are very cool because I've seen it install during between greenhouses, which won't work for us at this time, but you get the morning on one side, the PM on the other side, and then you get the reflective bounce back from the high tunnels themselves.
Exactly, they're bifacial. Yep.
Yeah, I've looked at a number of intriguing models, including for parking areas and so on, that done a little bit of outreach. They're not, most of the manufacturers are out west, so there hasn't been a thing that just rose up as like, yeah, we'd love to do this in New York. But that's why, that's what's so fun about Sylvester Manor is, it can be a first, it can pilot, it can experiment. And, it'll be great to have a partner in that over there, Don. So I look forward to bringing you in.
You available this coming week?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. We'll set something up.
Now that Sylvester Manor has hired a capital projects coordinator, Julia Brennan joined us in that capacity. I'll have more bandwidth for long-range planning like this.
I know, a loss for the Gazette, a gain for Sylvester Manor.
Agreed. I'm gonna miss my Gazette. But I have to say, the reporter's doing a lot more with online, everyday posting and so on. So kudos to them for stepping up also.
Okay, and then, Don, you had
Sorry,
mentioned.
Tim.
Yeah, go ahead,
Tim,
Christina.
Sorry,
Go
I
ahead.
had my hand up. I just want to add something to the last conversation about uh, parking lot solar. I know this is, part of the mix, but I just want to ask the question if you had looked at Wade's Beach and also I know we've had some discussions about the IGA and, I don't know what the state of their roof is, but it seems there are quite a few areas around the island where with increasing heat in the summer, it would be beneficial
Right.
for any cars parked underneath to be
Yeah.
shaded by rooftop solar, or sorry, by parking lot solar.
Right.
And I'd be happy to collect some information on that because my brother-in-law was involved in a big project out in Minneapolis.
Good, good. Just thinking, Wade's, some of the neighbors may object to obstructing their view of the bay, so we'd have to be
Well,
cognizant of
good
that.
point.
But yeah, yes, I agree. Canopy solar on the island is, I think, a definite possibility, several areas.
Yeah, I remember that being kind of pushed aside because of the vista issue there, the high visibility as you're driving past and so on and so forth. I'm not sure why solar canopies are less appealing than an asphalt parking lot or a field
Yeah.
of cars, but
Right.
and it also has that trickle down effect of the car's not as hot, so it doesn't use as much air conditioning and all of that sort of thing. But just mentioning the commercial rooftops, in our discussion yesterday, so much of it was about community engagement and educating around the benefits and the economic potential to, improve your bottom line by doing this. It would be good to, think about which businesses have appropriate roofs and also find out what kinds of financing and incentive programs there are that might enable us to do a sort of, broad in the scope of what broad means on Shelter Island, outreach with, opportunities for these businesses to, when we do the numbers for Sylvester Manor, because it uses a lot of electricity, the return on investment is remarkable. You actually start making money if you're able to produce enough. So it's, and certainly the savings over time are extraordinary because it will take an upfront investment, but you can see how quickly that's going to turn around to a savings.
Right. So,
versus what you're spending for electric now.
right. I agree. We ought to talk with the IGA owners because it would be a win-win for them. It could even be coupled with a charging station. So, yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's probably worth mentioning at this point that an enabling technology obviously is storage. And over the next 10 years, while it's not exactly ready for prime time now, over the next 10 years, New York State, as well as the country, has made it very clear that that energy storage is going to be a big part of making all of this happen. So while, again, it's not something that's going to happen tomorrow, this is part of the infrastructure of really the relative near term. You're talking about over the next 10 years, there'll be an enormous amount of attention and an enormous amount of funding that's available. I have some concerns about the technology at this point, but again, I'm a huge supporter and believer in energy storage and have been, for most of my career, 30 years or more. Oh,
Okay, anyway, I just thought after yesterday's discussion, it'd be good to look at sort of a bigger picture about, so that we can present all that to Brian and the program. So we're focusing on as many places as we can think of.
I suspect that their draft scope that we're going to see at the next meeting will be, really jog us to bring in the bigger picture pieces if they're not in there or whatever. So I think that's, if we're all thinking about it now and then be ready to really prepare for a discussion about their draft scope.
Well, I have one little peeve I'll mention. In the conversation yesterday, several people say, well, I'm not an electrical engineer. In fact, we're talking with NREL. There should be electrical engineers there that we're talking to. So I was a little disappointed. They're sort of, dismissing the questions.
Huh.
We can bring that up, Don.
Yeah, I talked to Kate and Jamie about that, and, yeah, and also that's essential here where it might not be in some other community because our town engineer is not, that's not part of anybody at the town's
Right.
purview or expertise
Yeah.
either, so.
Right, and yes, even Reed Karen, I can help with the oscilloscope testing. I've done enough of that as a grad student and afterwards, so.
Okay. You're gonna be very busy, which you normally aren't. But your point about the electrical engineer, I mean, we're working with them, and we should ask any questions that we think is pertinent.
Maybe that's another piece we can emphasize with PSEG, is that we're gonna need help on that. It might even make sense to have that expertise coming from the utility side, given, all the constraints or current conditions that they will be the experts.
Yep,
Yeah, I mean, we can add all of the, zero carbon generation we like, but we're still going to need to rely on the grid to deliver reliability because, as we all know, the sun doesn't shine all the time and the wind doesn't blow all the time. So, this is all part of the evolution of electric power going forward. So, again, PSE&G or whoever the delivering utility is going to be is going to have to be, part of the process and part of the team.
Okay, we're about out of time. And Tom, do you have any questions for us?
At this point, no. This is my first time that I'm logging in here or listening to discussions. I'm pretty keen on the solar side of the equation. I've been in that business for over 10 years, and would love to work with anybody on any projects you're working with, and go from there.
What is your business, your affiliation, Tom?
Right now, I work for a company called Long Island Power Solutions. But I've worked in the past for Harvest Power and Sun Nation as well. So both on the residential and the commercial side.
okay.
And I'm not looking to pitch the company. I'm we've had a house here for 25 years. I'm a full-time resident for the last 4 years. And I've been looking to get involved in the community side of the equation. So I'm more than happy to help out.
Great.
Do you do any residential wind turbine work?
We don't. I'm really just the solar side of the equation.
Oh, but you do. The company does.
No, they don't.
Oh, no. Okay.
And is that just solar or solar and storage?
Yeah, storage as well. And I echo what you said about where we are on the storage side of the equation. I mean, I think, it's something that will evolve. It's not ready, but it will evolve over time.
Needs to evolve.
Oh, it will. I'm confident that it will.
Yeah.
It's like anything else. And I think the way any of these markets work, every 12 to 18 months, there's a fairly big leap, and in everything, whether it's panels or inverters or whatever. So, 10 years is a long time, but I actually think I sell storage, but I'm really upfront with people and saying, it can be retrofitted at any time if you buy solar. I just don't believe it's ready to be installed. I don't think it does enough, and I think it's really expensive. So that's just I shouldn't be saying that, but that's what I say because that's the way I feel.
Yeah, and I tend to agree with you on pretty much everything you said. Yes, in technology, energy technology, 10 years is not a long time when you're dealing with the the scales that we're talking about and the level of importance that we're talking about.
I mean, it moves quickly and it doesn't move quickly. I have panels on the roof of my house, probably 8 years old. At the time, they're 225 watts. Now we're up to 450 watts. I mean, it's so, in that period of time, it doubled. I'm hoping for it to move quicker than that going forward, but it does move forward, and it does move forward positively.
Tom, I will only tell you what I probably told others here as well, that when I started with solar energy in the 1970s, all you could get was solar hot water.
Right.
The only people who had PV was the Space program.
Right.
Okay, and you could not afford a kilowatt of PV in the 1970s. So just in my career span, not just my lifetime, but in my career span, it has evolved. And I think over the next 10 years, we will see storage evolve into the mainstream because it's essential. It's essential for wind, it's essential for solar, and it's essential for reliability. And yes, the finances of that are going to be key. The value to the grid, the value to the independent system operators, if you monitor those costs, the ISOs, there's a real disconnect with what they pay, what the industry pays the solar owners. So we're going to be looking at those issues, and I think there's a lot of value that will be able to be, uncovered.
Agreed.
Tom?
Yes.
Can you drop your contact information in the chat?
Oh, the chat's disabled.
Oh,
Maybe
yes, it
you
is.
could leave it for somebody.
He can do it now if he wants.
Okay.
What would you like?
Okay, great.
Okay.
I just wanted to say, the California regulators just changed the incentives for solar, for rooftop solar. They had been pretty generous, and they've got a lot of solar in California. The solar advocates are not happy about it, but what they've done is they're incentivizing battery storage. And I think we'll probably see, the bigger the market gets, the lower the costs come, and the better the technology gets. So I think we'll probably see a fair amount of change in the next couple of years for batteries.
I think California differs than us in that they have time of day rates, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's an arbitrage between using the battery and then recharging at a lower rate, et cetera, et cetera. Right now we can't do that, so it's it's really just a generator. It's just a generator that's very, very limited, I feel.
Do you think the New York regulators will move in that direction?
Oh, I do. It's happening as we speak. I mean, there's already options to do time of day, but my sense is it's going to get mandatory. I think the other thing that's important is I think in the near future, they're going to start to charge for storage of your electricity at PSE&G, right? So, you're using in the house, excess goes into the grid. Nighttime, you pull out of the grid. There's an energy bank there that you have. And my sense is there's talk of charging people to store their electricity there. So, I mean, things will change. I mean, the incentives are still pretty good. I mean, they're really, pretty aggressive. They're very good on the residential side. They're still good. Actually, they've gotten better on the commercial side, especially for nonprofits like Sylvester Manor, where before there were no benefits. Now there are benefits as far as tax credits, even though they don't claim
taxes.
They're rebates now, which is great.
It's the same concept. It's a 30%.
We're going to see a lot of changes in the financial models as well. If you look at what again, I was referencing the ISOs. If you look at the cost of a kilowatt in August at the peak, you'll see what these storage systems could really be worth, and whether we're really getting the right incentives, or getting the incentives right, I should say. So, all this in the near term I think we're going to need to be looking at. And yes, PSE&G is looking at them as well. I think it's it's funny that a lot of the incentives are still the same as they were 30 years ago. Okay, and we know now with the independent system operators monitoring the costs on a real-time basis, what this power could really be worth, especially in an area like ours, where the summer peak is over 3 times the winter peak. So, there's a lot yet to be explored, a lot of financial incentive to be uncovered. And that's going to help drive the industry.
Well, the other driver is, PSE&G announcing that there's an 11.6% rate increase this year. That drives people to me. It makes people stand up, and they don't realize that's been going on for the last 5 years. It's been smaller than 11.6, but your cost of electricity is just going through the roof. So. And it's going to continue with people being pushed to do electrical appliances and things like that. There's no access. There's no way we're producing any power on island anymore. So wherever we find the electricity, typically it's more expensive than if we created it ourselves. So there's a lot of moving parts, but look, it's not the end all and be all, but solar is a good option for certain people.
We need to thank you, Tom.
Yeah, no worries. Sorry, I didn't mean to get you at the end of the.
No. This is all very good.
We'd love for you to stay involved, Tom.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to. I'm like I said, I almost missed the meeting this morning because of something else, but I'm glad I hung in there. It's interesting, and there's a lot going on. I've been involved with doing a lot of residential on the island itself, and I know we've done some commercial community solar with one of the self-storage facilities on the island. So it's
community solar.
Yeah, it's a good time to do it. So,
Tom, the meetings are recorded if you can't make them.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
You want to be looped in, send your email to Tim whose email is on the website, on the town committee page.
Great, and I'll send it in whatever plans you got going. If you can email them to me, I can just give a quick look and just so I can be more informed on what's going on.
Okay, that'd be
Thanks.
great. Ben, before we go, do you have any questions?
I don't think so. I assume, Meg is the one who normally has.
No, I know.
This. But I assume you guys are poised to be part of the conversation about the facilities plan for the center and.
Yes.
Okay, well, all that would be very important.
That's a great point, Ben. I just wanted to get that, into the recording or minutes or whatever, that when the town does their facilities master plan, that's obviously a great opportunity to design buildings that can pick up solar from their roofs and so on and so forth. So.
And we've been talking when we meet with the ETIP folks. That's been also not a huge part, but it's a part of the conversation too, that we want our goals to be aligned.
Yes.
I was surprised. I gotta be honest. I was surprised that they didn't put panels at the recycling facility on that overhang.
We're
Working on it.
We're working on it.
Fair enough. I'm sure you are. I was so surprised when they put it up, and then I was like happy they put it up, and then I'm like, I don't get it. It's kind of, I think it faces south as well, which is optimal for everything. So it's not like it's whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, Tom, that roof was actually scoped and bid so that it could take panels. So it's
Gotcha.
pointed in the right direction, moving slowly.
Gotcha.
Ben, if I can just add on to what you said, yes, we're very much eager to support the town board, policies of the town board, and to have the support of the town board as we move forward with these issues, because obviously as we move forward with the technologies, we're going to be raising the profile of these activities, and it's going to be really important to have public support. Okay, the my mantra is technology is easy, people are hard.
Yeah.
And, the technologies are here, okay, and coming. But we need to get public support, and public support means we all need to be on the same page about this. We may not always agree, but we need the support of the town council. And we are, a creature of the town council. We're a town committee, so we want to work with you and the town council.
So at some point, Ben, when we have a clearer idea of what direction we're going, we'll be doing presentations to the town board
Right.
as we make progress.
Good. I'm looking forward to getting up to speed. I asked to be on this committee. These issues are important to me. And I'd like to help any way I can. I mean, and I also want to find out where you guys are on sort of wind generated electricity and what discussions you've had about that.
Well, we'll loop you in on the ETIP work, which happens, off town time.
And that's just started, the
And it's-
ETIP.
It's still in the
planning
scoping phase, so.
Yeah, it's
we
still
can touch base about
started.
that.
And in August, if you want to use my car for a demonstration at the
Green Expo.
Green Expo,
Perfect.
happy to lend.
We'll sign you up.
Okay.
Done. It's the last Saturday in August,
Okay.
Okay,
I think, third or fourth,
it's the second to last.
second to last.
Okay.
Thanks, people.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
All right.
Call for the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
Adjourn.